Hello, everybody. This is Peter Palmiotti, and this is something different. um, so I had a request a while back to kind of review the first issue of Aquaman I worked on, and um, I thought this was a DC database, or well, it's fan made database. Let's see how this works. Yeah, okay, so we got issue 10 of Aquaman. Um, and it was July 1995 when it was published. Um, as you can see, uh, and Peter David was the writer, Jim Calfuri was the penciler, and some guy named Peter L. Palmiotti was the anchor. Um, I kind of requested that they use my first name and middle initial to separate myself from my brother, who is currently still inking, and I wanted potentially less confusion between us. Uh, didn't work out that way totally, but yeah. If you're joining me live, I'll check out the comments at the end. But I'm just going to, let's see. And so, okay, so we had colorist Tom McCraw, and this was before computer coloring. Dan Nakarosis was the letterer, and Kevin Dooley, Eddie Begenzer, were the editors. There's been some shade over Eddie Begenzer. I don't know anything about it in recent years. But, you know, he was just a kid back then, and I was happy to work with both of them. I was happy to work with Peter David, but I didn't really. Well, funny short story. I met him at a convention, I guess closer to the either my middle run of working on Aquaman or towards the end, something like that. And I introduced myself because I never saw him up at the office. Only dealt with Kevin and Eddie. And uh, and I said, "Hey, I'm Nanko of Aquaman." And he's like, "Oh, really?" Um, and his wife was with him at the time. Um, and his wife punched him in the arm and said, "Don't you know who you're working with?" So it was kind of funny. Um, so let's see. Supporting characters in this issue are Crone One Eye, Dolphin, Koryak, Volko. Well, Volko is in the newest Aquaman movie, so you might know him. In the comic, he was portrayed as a shorter, heavier person, Aquarian. uh, then there were King Thessaly, and Ocean Master. Um, then we also had Green Lantern, not Hal Jordan, as I would have wished. This was shortly after Kyle was introduced as Green Lantern, and we had Dana Shruai, which was awesome. Locations, we had Crescent Shore, and Green Lantern ring was an item. And synopsis, and pretty much you can look up the synopsis online. It's a DC database created by Fandom. I don't know who makes this, but let's see the quote of the issue: "At last, swimmer, you must beware. Beware the I forget the old one. The old one usually forgets." So July 1995. I probably worked on this maybe April, May, June, July. Yeah, something like that. I probably started in April, which was great because my birthday's in April. And cover artists were Jim Calfury, obviously, you could tell, and Mark McKenna. Mark was his regular inker, but because Mark was working on other things at the time, as well as on Jim Calfury and whatchamacallit. Yeah, I was kind of called in, and I went over my story not too long ago. You can look for the Aquaman pinup inks to hear more about that stuff. But yeah, I was gladly called in by Jim Calfury because he knew me from working side by side back in the days of Valiant Comics. I didn't ink him there, so I sort of inked a couple of panels, and he was impressed enough to give me the green light. And Kevin called me and said, "Hey, you're hired." Okay, so a shout out to Richard Friend for kind of giving me this idea. He reviews other people's artwork and books they've worked on his Super Fun Sundays videos. So go check them out. Tell him Peter sent you. He's an awesome inker, inspiration to all. He has a great channel full of many things. Well, here, okay, it says Peter Palmiotti here, so but ignore what I said previously. So this is a great cover. I was super stoked to see it. Covers are inked previously, like 3 months beforehand. So when they called me on, it was already done. I don't know if the ink, if the colors were done, but I at least saw the black and white and was impressed. So this was the very first page I received, and I received them all in order sequence. I probably got a couple off the bat to work on. One of the things I will mention is, like, from start to finish, me and Cal Fury racked up our phone bills. Well, I racked up mine, asking for any tips, advice, what he was looking for as far as me inking him. And what he wanted was pretty much solid inks, and he knew I could deliver that. So it was amazingly fun to ink a lot of his different fish and coral and underwater scenes, and as well as his water effects. I loved the fact that this had seven panels over the final seventh panel, so you could see the water effect behind the front panels, and that was cool. I love that kind of stuff. So then we go into page 2 with no words, no narration, just silent page. But it's so well choreographed by Cal Fury that it works so well. So we get this, some Fisher some scuba divers come across a shark, and one of them doesn't quite make it. And we get to Revelations, which Revelations was done by me. I think this was probably the first type I did. Yeah, now I'm looking at the credits, I remember I just started out as Peter Palmiotti. Peter L. Palmiotti was added sometime later. But so yeah, I inked the border of the page probably loose hand because it's not straight. Couldn't use a ruler for that. And I probably similarly did it by hand up top, but it's pretty thin. Looking back on it now, because it's like a lot of it is a color hold. I probably would have tripled up the thickness of the outline, but pages look so differently, in person, not colored, just black and white. I know from going to conventions and seeing original artwork from other comics, it's amazing how much of a difference, how impactful they are in person. But yeah, this is I was just like, yeah, I didn't know the credits were exactly going in there, but I figured it was a credits page. I think Jim Calfury even went so far as to, on the original artwork, he penciled some pointers in describing maybe specific things along the way to help me out. Previous to inking for DC, this is really what I did. Inked for DC was Aquaman. I inked a couple of pages for Marvel, that random Marvel Comics Presents, and some other things. Punisher annual pages. This was my really big first work, a full issue of Aquaman. I was super stoked. So I think if I remember, I inked this regularly, the whole page, because I mentioned that because later in the issue, when Green Lantern shows up and I have to do the Green Lantern effects, I had to do ink those pages, ink those images, the effects, over vellum, which was a pain in the ass, but it looks amazing in the final comic. So this is Aquaman in his new warrior type outfit, with his hook hand, which was introduced in this series earlier. But yeah, this is a little bit of a dream sequence. There's Vocal in panel 2. There's his brother, the evil Ocean Master, in shadow there. My history and knowledge of Aquaman before I started working on the book was like, I was kind of I was thrilled to be working on Aquaman. He was the original one of the 7 of the Justice League. So to me, he was a big character, even though he got laughed at a lot. I kind of rejoiced in that. And there's a lot of history of all that. But I believe it was definitely later that Entourage for HBO came on, and there was a whole storyline with, the main character, who was an actor in the show, becoming Aquaman. And I just love that. So continuing the sequence, we see possibly Aquaman in in more of a armor type outfit in armor, and yeah, this was all straightforward to ink. Um, and there's nothing extreme on this page per se that I had to do. But I was all about getting every last detail exactly correct. I know I definitely had a lot of fun with the on his legs. You see the scales of his, like on Captain America, it's chainmail. I don't know if it's necessarily chainmail on his legs there, but it's the same effect. It does, just in green. But yeah, there he is, an older looking Aquaman, little faded hair, looking more and more badass. He's got a metal hand, possibly a robot hand created by scientists. um, we may never know. Uh, but it turns out, he was getting kissed, and it turns out it's his mom. It's definitely a dolphin. I know in one storyline his dolphin was a mom, but so there he is talking to the dolphin, because that's what Aquaman does. And just, yeah, I just love the underwater foliage and rocks. Not a heck of a lot here, but then we go into a page introducing the other character of this issue, Green Lantern. And I gotta say, he grew on me. While I was working on this issue, and I didn't know too much about this Green Lantern, which I read more and more after the fact. But definitely, I definitely loved his mask. That was a lot of fun to ink, and his costume was pretty cool too. Not the classic Green Lantern costume, but not too far away from it. Then we have this king, and there's Volko, and there's Dolphin, and the kid that will be called Aquaman Jr., Aquaboy, maybe perhaps in some storylines. I forget. But here's more underwater, and I love this Aquaman swimming through the water. We have Green Lantern flying through the sky. And some more sharks talking to each other. And I forget exactly. I probably should have read the issue before I started, but I think there was a problem he was trying to take care of about these guys. These guys shooting sharks, and yeah. Hey, you're not supposed to be doing that. Yada yada. But yeah, this is where at the bottom of the page, Green Lantern effects. I had to ink that on vellum, separate from the page inks. So it'd be a sheet of vellum taped to the original art page. If any, all I'll mention now, all the original artwork I had from my whole Aquaman run, I sold, and I sold, before 2000. So it's all long gone. I still have people asking me, "Hey, would you sell me a page of Aquaman?" I would love to. Perhaps you want me to recreate a page. I'll be up for that. But yeah, more scene with the king and Aqua Junior. But yeah, okay. So here we have a forward shot of Aquaman, and there's nothing more fun than inking close-ups of Aquaman with his long flowing hair, his beard. I was very, very tender lines. I applied to all of that. Because it wasn't like thick, bold lines. It was all thin lines, as Calfear wanted to keep it, but a lot of fun. Keeping those chainmail on his legs correct, and hey, there's Green Lantern's ring. Even that little effect around him, that green around him, and definitely in the last panel here, was just lines I made on Velcro. Again, pain in the ass, before computers, before computer coloring. But the colorist did a good job on this issue, I should say, Tom. Liked his work. And yeah, this was more of an insane page to work on because all that rope effect. But definitely lots of action going on now. And fighting each other as heroes do. And this this clam is burned into my memory. That was tougher to do because there was a ton of detail on it, and working on vellum, it crinkles up a little bit as you work on it. So definitely a challenge. Lots of fun. Then we have more what's going on in Atlantis. There was subplots upon subplots. You know, we're talking Peter David, and he's an excellent writer, but he didn't always follow through with some of the storylines as much as I would have liked as a fan and also somebody working on it. And I don't think we sort of, they changed teams up. Calferi was on it to issue 49. I was on it to issue 48, I believe. Then Eric Lawson, who I love, came on as writer. I forget the art team. But yeah, they took it in a different direction, as new teams sometimes do. I mean, we're talking like, when I was working on the book, it was in the top 100, and they said it wasn't selling enough. But this was back in the mid 90s when books were selling really good. So, what are you going to do? Then more Green Lantern effects, more shell, and give me that ring. He shoots off his hook and grabs that ring. And he's like, I'm starting to drown. He would have been probably crushed by the water, in reality. I don't know how deep they were, but, it would have been a shock to his system. He probably would have lost all the breath in his mouth. Realistically, but this is comics. And shock is talking as they tend to do. But yeah, I loved this last panel. It's just a silhouette of the characters, which is always fun. Yeah, I guess we're getting to. Is this the last page? Might be. Yeah, it looks like a little blood in the water there. It's definitely red. They're looking over the boat, and hey, there's Green Lantern. And he, he puts the zipper over the guy's mouth, like, hey, don't do that. You're crazy. Oh, we get a last panel. And it looks like the king was crushed. Oh well. So there you go. I was gonna go into something else, but yeah. Let's see. Let's just go back here. Yeah, so this, it definitely, like, I previous to this, I was not nearly as clean with my work, and because of Calfury's style, um, there wasn't any feathering. It was all straight, um, solid blacks or outlines, and I got really, really skilled really fast at sharpening all my lines, and definitely keeping things clean and exactly how Calfury envisioned his work in the book. And yeah, man, it was definitely a challenge for this first issue. I worked, day in, day out, 7 days a week, sometimes around the clock. And the great thing is that I would be able to, I was living in Brooklyn, my hometown, and just take a subway ride into Manhattan, go up to DC office, drop off pages to Kevin, and give me a little feedback. And he would be like, "What do you think?" And what do I think? It's great. Take them. Pay me. Um, yeah, I would voucher for pages, then get paid when they had their pay period. Well, I think it was like, if I vouchered, I would get paid in a week back then. I think it's different now. I think you have to wait 2 weeks, maybe longer. Um, but it was pretty excellent. My page rate was slightly higher at Marvel. That was true back then. That's probably true now. Although rates were higher in the 90s than they are now, even, all this time later. But this was definitely Lita's waterlines. Man, I fussed over those lines so much. I was like, I got to make them a little thicker, a little thicker. I would go over them and over them, and give more dimension to them, and it kind of looks like it was a little computer coloring there. It's like blue in front and goes off to green. But yeah, this was just basic uh, coloring how they did it previously. And you could tell that by, like, Aquaman's hair. It's two colors. It's yellow and orange. And I don't think I think it's just two shades of color. There's a spotlight effect on Green Lantern in the middle. But it's only little effects here and there that sort of look like they might have been computer colored, but it just would have been a whole different kind of look to it if it was computer colored. But I'm kind of glad. It's like there's a lot of things about the old coloring system that I love, and one of it is that characters look iconic because they're bold colors, and not everything looks like 100 colors and molded and above and beyond just the artwork. If that Aquaman close up was colored with computer coloring, he would look real as compared to a comic drawing. which is, there's nothing bad with that. But, I have very specific thoughts on computer calling. But yeah, I said I was going to check the chat, but unfortunately, I could try. You're probably going to. Okay. All right. I'm showing everybody my world. All right. What do we got here? There I am. 619. All right. Hopefully, stop. Okay. I got 619 subscribers. Thanks, everyone. Oh, here we go. I got Ronnie. We got Mario. Gibran. Aquaman. Yeah. Sorry. Hey, it was escaping me. Like I said, I should have probably remembered all that. Yeah, thanks, guys, for showing up. Hey, guys. That's great. I didn't know about this. Okay, cool. So I had a couple of people show up, and yeah, no questions, but I want to show something else now that I'm here. All right, for anybody who doesn't know, and actually I should update this because I do. On my YouTube page, I have a little column of people I'm subscribed to, and it says "Be Inspired" on the right, and Marsh, Scott of Cirquworks, Jeff Lafferty, Robert Marzillo, Paul Kijiji, Jeremy, Yanmo, Trent, and this. What's this? Creator-owned Comics Group is my other channel. If you're not already aware of it, you can find a link on my YouTube page directly and subscribe. So go there and subscribe. I got 23 subscribers. I'm going to be making a video hopefully next week. We shall see. But yeah, I hope you enjoyed this. It's just a review of my first issue of Aquaman I ever inked. It was issue number 10, volume 5. I guess there's been a volume or two since then, since they reinvented the DC universe 100 times. If you're not already subscribed to my channel, then please do. And also, if you weren't aware, and I pretty much have the link in all my YouTubes, go to my Patreon page. It's patreon.com/Peter Palmiotti. Become a patron for $1 or more. Yeah, I'll probably be changing a lot of this. I'm kind of really excited about what Marshall Lee is doing with his Patreon, which he's having a sort of a mini comic for each month. I think what I want to do is go back to an original idea, comic book idea I had called Worlds, and just sort of do a small chapter each month. Worlds was like sort of created through my love of anime, manga, and heavy metal. So yeah, I got a lot going on, but I will be getting to that maybe in a month or two. I got a number of projects I might be working on. Yeah, it depends on my schedule, but anywho, I will be getting back to my 100 days of working on my anthology story. Sort of skipped a day yesterday. A friend of mine passed away, but ever onward. This is, making comics and art is what I do for a living, so it stops for no one. I hope you enjoy this. Hope that didn't show. With my hangout. Okay. So thank you, everybody. I'll see you again shortly. So take care. Bye.